Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel and thanks for logging on. Today we're discussing the Jaeger-LeCoutlre Master Compressor Diving GMT. You can see this one of 1500 limited edition diving GMT and purchase it on our website. And subscribe to our YouTube channel if you enjoy these videos. You can also click on the card in the upper right hand corner of the screen at any time to see our full listing for this watch with additional high-resolution images, accessories included, and naturally full pricing details for this GMT. Now, the Master Compressor diving line of 2007 marked the most serious incursion into the dive watch market since JLC's Polaris II of the early 1970s. Purposeful, oversized, and massively built watches, they could have been called a knee-jerk response to the Audemars Piguet offshore and the popularity of its rival, the Hublot Big Bang, during the mid-2000s, but that would have been a severe disservice to the substance of these watches. They feel less like oversized Playboy timepieces and more like Rolex Deep Seas or even pure diving watches that just went to finishing school and then got a college degree. This feels more like a substantial Rolls-Royce of diving watches than something designed to compete with the truly oversized and bombastic output of Hublot and Audemars Piguet back in the day. So I would say that overall, this watch has to be looked at as a very functional tool watch that just happens to be 44 millimeters across. Now that's across the round of the case. The watch is reasonably slim. 16 millimeters isn't thick by any means in this size class, nor is it slim, but with a conical bezel and a regularly shaped case flank, it's actually fairly easy to fit this one underneath a sport jacket or a blazer cuff, maybe not the tightest of dress cuffs. Now from lug to lug, the watch is large, 53 millimeters from lug to lug. If you do measure the outermost rigid outcropping, which actually winds up being the second link from the conforming end piece, you wind up with a watch that's 60 millimeters in span across the wrist, but again, you're looking at it on a 16 centimeter wrist, so if it fits me, believe me, it's probably going to fit you down to, I would say, lower bound of 15 centimeters. I would say that would be the smallest wrist that could wear this watch with the same sense of security and proportion. The nice thing though is in grade 5 titanium, it's both physically resilient and wonderfully light. JLC does build its cases as well as movements, as well as bracelets and clasps, and in each case this one has superb hardware. You can see the finish on the watch is pretty subdued. It's satin in all cases with the exception of the knurled elements of the bezel and some very fine hairline polished bevels along the lugs, the kind of bevels that Rolex no longer does in the era of automation. The bracelet is a 3-link design, beautifully finished, full satin. It's wonderfully silken on the wrist, and you can see those glorious broad channels between the links on the underside to prevent it from pinching skin or pulling hair. You'll also note that it features the latest generation of JLC's famous quadruple trigger double deployant sports bracelet. Now, we first saw this design on the Reverso Grand Sports of the late 90s, and it's a gem. First of all, low in profile when closed. It's nicely integrated into the thickness and flow of the bracelet. It also requires a substantial amount of positive disengagement. Not 2 triggers, but 4. This is not friction fit. It can't accidentally pop open. Now finally, and I'm going to show you on both sides, the watch has an incremental micro adjustment device on each side, allowing you to take it out or take it in 2.5 millimeters on each side for a total of 5 millimeters of incremental adjustment. It's secure, it's beautiful, it's substantial, and it's versatile, allowing you to get easy sizing for many wrists. Now you can also note that the watch makes the most of its size. There are some oversized watches that seem to be big for the sake of bigness. This one gains a functional boon from its sheer span. First, that beautiful and beautifully relieved titanium unidirectional rotating bezel is a substantial piece and truly satisfying to use. It sounds great, it feels great. A ropey bezel that doesn't sound right, that doesn't feel light, that feels too creamy or too stiff can ruin a dive watch. Here JLC clearly did its homework and probably did a little bit of focus group work, to be honest. This bezel feels perfect and it looks the business with a very large triangular loomed index so that you can line it up quickly with the minutes hand. Maybe you have better facility with hand-eye coordination than I. And now you have an impromptu 0 to 60 minute chronograph as you trace the arc around the bezel with the calibrated indices and numerals. But more than that, the watch features a large and easily legible matte black, I should say, dial base. So at a glance, you know what time it is. You can see all of the individual appliques, whether they're Arabic numerals or trapeze-style indices, are both white gold and fully loomed. Now the trapeze-style hands at center, likewise, white gold and high polished. This is a very practical timepiece that glows like a torch at night. At 6 o'clock, you may be curious what that is. That's actually a constant seconds indicator, and I'll unhack the movement. And you can see what it does is it takes the place of a constant seconds hand. A dive watch by ISO 6425 standards must have some indication that it's operating at all times. It can't simply be static with a minute and hour hand making a slow circuit. A diver needs to be able to tell at a glance that his watch is ticking, and that's what the constant seconds indicator or operation indicator at 6 does. Now there is a GMT indication at 9 o'clock with a 24-hour scale for AM-PM distinction, and the watch has a clever travel time function such that you can set the hour independently of the GMT scale, the minute, and the seconds. You'll note that as I adjust the hour, the constant seconds indicator continues to advance as the movement continues to tick, so this does not upset the balance or change the amplitude of the watch, which would otherwise affect the precision of the timepiece. You'll note the case back screwed in with the Geosphere logo of the Master 1000 Hours Control, that is JLC's proprietary test of shock resistance, automatic winding, power reserve, water resistance, and chronometry, and you'll note the limited edition 1 of 1500 signature. Inside, the caliber 975 Auto Tractor, JLC's absolute best for sporting applications. Thick, robust, unidirectional winding with a 48-hour power reserve. Free sprung with a laser welded hairspring at the stud and the collet for absolute stability. Encased in a 1,000-meter water-resistant case made of grade 5 titanium, harder than steel for resistance to scratches and scuffs. This is a Cadillac dive watch with a Cadillac in-house movement. You can see it, and you can purchase it on our website.